All right, it's been 1 year since the deadly white nationalist rally in Charlottesville, Virginia. Another Unite the Right rally is scheduled for Sunday in Washington, D.C. Organizers predict as many as 400 people could attend, with counter-protesters expected. Meanwhile, a state of emergency is in effect in Charlottesville, where last year's violence occurred. CBS News Justice and Homeland Security correspondent Jeff Pegues has this story.
About 700 Virginia state troopers are part of the heightened security in Charlottesville. Part of the city has been locked down, cutting off all vehicular traffic and forcing pedestrians through 2 checkpoints, all until Monday morning.
Nothing would excite us any better than this to be non-eventful and folks to go home and it be a peaceful weekend for all.
1 year ago, white nationalists, angered by a plan to remove a Confederate statue, marched through the University of Virginia campus bearing torches while chanting racist and anti-Semitic slogans. The next day, thousands of white nationalists made their way through Charlottesville streets, only to be met by counter-protesters. Violence and chaos swirled for hours. Heather Heyer was killed when a car plowed into a crowd of counter-protesters. James Alex Fields was indicted in Heyer's death and faces dozens of hate crime charges. Now, white nationalists have planned a rally for Sunday in Washington, D.C. At least 5 counter-protest groups were also granted permits. Washington, D.C. Mayor Muriel Bowser.
The only right message, and the message that I hope that we will carry jointly as Washingtonians, is love, inclusion, and diversity.
Guns will be prohibited from the demonstration zone in Washington, but they are allowed within downtown Charlottesville. UVA student Eric Patton Sharp. So what is your main concern heading into this weekend?
Main concern is making sure that there's total safety for civilians here in Charlottesville and that the police presence actually does their job and protects the students and community members.
Officials won't say whether the increased police presence here is just as a precaution or in response to a specific threat. Jeff Pegues, Charlottesville, Virginia.
And joining us now is Susan Breaux, who lost her daughter Heather Heyer 1 year ago in Charlottesville. And Susan, I can't say it enough. First, thank you for joining us, but our hearts and prayers continue to be with you. It's been 1 year since your daughter's death. How are you holding up?
It's emotional roller coaster as long as I'm working, not thinking too much, not feeling too much. But I have to be honest that the weight of it is kind of getting to me today and tomorrow.
I can only imagine there. The president today tweeted about Charlottesville. He said, quote, "We must come together as a nation. I condemn all types of racism and acts of violence. Peace to all Americans." What's your reaction to the president's tweet?
Well, that's a good tweet. I like that tweet.
All right. Well, 1 year later, do you think America is closer together or are we farther apart?
It's difficult to say. What appeared to be close together probably a year ago was not truly close together. It was more of an artificial covering over deep-seated wounds, deep-seated infection in our society. So I think last year's eruption of that infection gives us a little better understanding of how bad it is so that we can gradually, slowly, and difficultly heal. If you rush to heal, if you rush to everybody grab each other and sing Kumbaya, then we've accomplished nothing and we'll be right back here in a few years.
It will most certainly take some time. The Unite the Right rally will be taking place in D.C. on Sunday. What would you want to say to those people who are participating in that gathering?
No place for hate. Don't respond to the violence if you can protect yourselves without it, and don't let your guard down.
That's a strong message. Are you concerned about the safety of counter-protesters, and do you have any message or words for caution for them?
Well, from what I've observed, both in Charlottesville and in Florida and watching tapes from other places, is that a lethal form of attack will happen as everybody is kind of relaxed, thinking it's all over. So don't let your guard down.
Question for you. Have you had a chance to check out Spike Lee's movie, The Black Klansman?
I have not, because I've been doing round-the-clock interviews for the last 3 weeks. Not round-the-clock, but 14-hour days. And looking forward to seeing it. My husband's like, when are we going to the movies? I said, when this is all over.
Yeah, I don't want to give it away, but I'm sure you've already heard that there is a tribute to your daughter. What do you want Heather's legacy to be, and what should Americans take away from your loss?
All right, that was several things at once. So let me back up. Spike told me that was going to be there. He asked me would I mind, and I was like, if it serves a purpose, okay. So I'm aware. I can kind of steel myself for that. What I want Americans to take away from that is we still have a lot of work to do. Just because something happened in the 60s, the 20s, the 1800s, doesn't mean it's over. As Dr. Jelaine Schmidt has pointed out before, the hate had to go somewhere. It didn't go away. It hasn't been addressed yet. We've never acted like people of color mattered in our country. And that starts with the genocide of Indians, moves into slavery, and right on through. So we've got a lot of owning up to do. We've got a lot to fix. And people say, why don't they just get over it? Well, they would if we'd let them, but we keep shoving it in their face. We keep treating people of color as if they still don't matter. So let's have some very difficult conversations. Let's move forward in a way that's going to bring about the difficult work of healing. Let's, as Mayor Nakia Walker said, let's get comfortable with being uncomfortable.
And when it comes to race in America, do you think the Trump administration should do more, could do more?
I don't know. I don't deal on the presidential level. For me, change, real honest to gosh change, is a heart movement and starts at lower level government. Let's start with city council. Let's start with midterm elections. Let's start with talking to people in your neighborhood. Let's talk to your office friends. Let's have some real conversations with people right around you. That's where big change is going to happen.
All right, it is good to see you keeping your daughter's memory and now legacy alive, and just to watch you power through over the past year. We are so grateful for you, and our prayers and hearts, of course, continue to be with you. Thank you so much for joining us.
Thank you, DeMarco.
All right.